Are you the proud owner of a new Mac computer? Or you've purchased a used Mac that's been reformatted as part of a sale? Are you a former Windows PC user who's recently joined the Apple family? Or you're an experienced Mac user and you just need a refresher in setting up a Mac from the very beginning? In all these cases, this class is for you. Hi, I'm Greg Holdsworth. I've been using a Mac since 1987 and I'm very humbled and excited to share this intro to Mac class with you. In most cases, you're new or new to you. Mac will already have macOS, which is the Mac operating system, already installed. However, it will require that you go through a series of initial setup screens. From the moment you turn the Mac on for the first time to being ready to start using it, I will walk you through all the steps and settings to get you up and running. For this class, I'll be setting up macOS Mojave version 10.14. If you're setting up an older version of macOS, the setup should be very similar. Thanks so much for joining me today. Without further ado, let's get started. When you first turn your Mac on out of the box, you'll see a series of initial setup screens. So let's go through those. First, you have to choose your location. So we'll scroll through the list. Wait, Antarctica? I bet they have some cool Macs down there. Anyway, where was I? Okay, so we're going to scroll through the list, and I'm in the United States. So I'll click on United States and click Continue. You then have to choose your keyboard layout. I'm in the United States and it detected the keyboard that I'm using automatically. If you have multiple keyboard layouts, you'll have to choose the right one and then, of course, hit Continue. In this screen, you'll have to choose a Wi-Fi network. My Mac is connected to the internet through a wired connection instead of wireless. So I actually didn't see this screen. However, I wanted to provide an image of what that screen looks like so you'll be familiar with it. If you do get this screen, you should see your wireless network here on the list, and you'll just select your network and enter your password. This next screen is talking about Apple's data and privacy policy. You can select Learn More to read all about it, or just click Continue. If you're using a Windows PC or another Mac and you needed to bring data over from it, here's your opportunity to do that. Load up the moving van and bring it on over. You can click here to use a Windows PC, or choose Mac if you have a hard drive or a Time Machine backup. Time Machine is Apple's built-in backup software. I'm not going to do any of that right now, so I'm going to select Don't Transfer Any Information Now. I do want to mention that you can use the Migration Assistant app to do it later. I'm just going to choose Don't Transfer Information Now and hit Continue. Let's talk about Apple ID. What is an Apple ID, you ask? This is from Apple's website. An Apple ID is the personal account you use to access Apple services like the App Store, iTunes Store, iCloud, and more. It includes the information you use to sign in, as well as all of the contact, payment, and security details that you'll use across Apple services. Basically, an Apple ID is how you as an individual are registered in Apple's database. It's like your main account with everything Apple. Hardware, software, and the services it provides. Simply put, your Apple ID is an email address and a password that goes with it. When do I use it? Again, this is from Apple's website. Anytime you set up a new device, make a purchase, or use any Apple service, you'll be asked to sign in with your Apple ID and password. Once signed in, you'll have access to the service and all the personal information in your account. So in addition to your name and contact information, your Apple ID account will have a record of the Apple devices that you own. Macs, iPhones, iPods, Apple Watch, etc., etc. The account itself is free. However, if you want to purchase anything on Apple's online stores, you'll need to provide credit card information. So when would you need it? You'll need it for buying, downloading, or renting movies, TV shows, music, books, or buying apps or games for your iPhone or Mac through the App Store. Yep, pretty much anything that involves paying for something. So anyway, let's move on to the actual screen. You'll see a screen that looks like this, and it's asking me to sign into my Apple ID account. If you already have an account, you can just sign in here. Maybe perhaps you already have an iPhone, Apple Watch, or something else. If you do want to create a new account, you can just click Create a New Apple ID. Since I already have an Apple ID, I'm not going to create a new one here. However, I do want to show you the information you'll need so you'll have that ready. I'm going to click on Setup Later. Another way you can register for a new Apple ID account is on Apple's website, appleid.apple.com. You'll go there, and in the upper right corner, you'll see a link that says Create Your Apple ID. Click on that. You'll put in your first and last name, of course, your country, your birthday, and your email address, which, as I said, is technically your Apple ID. This email address is extremely important. I strongly recommend that the email address you use is one that's very reliable, and more importantly, one you see yourself using for a long time. I've heard too many horror stories of what you have to go through if you've lost it or had to recover or reset it. Anyway, so you also have some security questions, offers to get correspondence via email from Apple, one of those CAPTCHA code things, and you'll click Continue and go from there. This next screen shows information about terms and conditions and the license agreement. You can click More to see the rest of it. I'm just going to click Agree and confirm here. Now I need to create a user account. If you already have computer experience, having a user account should be familiar. You'll need to first put in your full name, and notice that it automatically filled in the account name using an abbreviation of your full name. You can, of course, change this to whatever you want. Then you'll need to provide a password to sign into this computer. This password is extremely important. So make sure it's a password you will remember, but hard for other people to guess. Please don't forget it. Let me repeat this. Do not forget this password. You will be locked out of your Mac if you do. Put it under your mattress, put it in a safe deposit box at your bank, tell your pet to remind you what it is in the event that you forget it. Just kidding. Your pet isn't going to help you. I hope I wasn't unclear. So I'll type in my password and I'll type it in to verify. You can put in a hint, but I personally wouldn't recommend it. Then I'll click continue. And after that, it will take a few moments to create the account. And we're good to go. The next screen is for choosing iCloud Keychain. This is a service where your Mac can remember passwords for websites and services. If you wish to set it up, you can do so here, or you can set it up later. I personally don't use it, so I'll choose Set Up Later. This screen is for Express Setup. These are questions regarding location services and analytics. If you wish to use the default setup, you just click continue here. However, I do want to see the specific settings here, so I'll hit customize settings. The computer is asking for permission to use location services. Location services is basically where if your computer is on a Wi-Fi network, the computer is able to find its physical location. This is useful for applications like maps. If you want to keep your information private and you don't want location services turned on, you simply disable this option. I do want to use this, so I will enable that. Next, it's asking me if I want to provide analytics data to Apple, which can help them improve their software. I think that's fine, so I'll click continue. This screen is for iCloud Drive, which is kind of like Dropbox, if you're familiar with that. It allows the data in your documents folder and your desktop to be automatically stored in the cloud in the iCloud Drive. I'm going to disable this option because my documents are synchronized in other ways, and I'll hit continue. Now you can decide what your interface is going to look like. Is it going to be light or dark? A new feature in macOS Mojave is dark mode, where all your windows, menus, and other elements are, well, dark. A lot of designers and photographers have been wanting this for years. Supposedly it's easier on your eyes. So, and of course you can change this later in system preferences if you want to. I'm going to stick with light and click continue. So now it's finalizing the setup, and in a moment or two I will be signed in and ready to start using my new Mac. Awesome! High five! But wait, there's more. There's one more thing, as the late Steve Jobs said. It's asking me if I want to use Siri. Siri is the voice-operated personal assistant in macOS, similar to Cortana in Windows 10.
I'm an intelligent assistant, Greg, not a parrot with beautiful plumage.
I have no idea what she's talking about. Anyway, you can set Siri up later, so I'll just hit cancel. So now let's talk about the System menu, also called the Apple menu. And you get to it by clicking on the Apple icon up in the upper left corner. The System menu, or the Apple menu, is kind of like the Start menu in Windows. except that it's of course at the top instead of the bottom. So this menu is available to you all the time, regardless of what kind of applications you're running. And it has a lot of basic functions for the operation of your computer. So I'm going to zoom in here and I'll just kind of go through these. We'll talk about some of these in another movie. You have About This Mac, your system preferences, the App Store, recent items, applications, documents, stuff like that. A force quit if you have a poorly behaving application. Allows you to sleep, restart, and shut down your Mac. And finally, to lock your screen and log you out of your user account. So that's kind of a quick rundown of the system menu, and I'll zoom back out, and there you go. In this movie, we're going to go over more specific items that you saw in the last movie on the system menu. So this is awesome, Greg, but I'm done with my Mac now and I need to either turn it off or go away for now. Coming from the Windows world, these are the same commands found in the power part of the start menu. And these are always available no matter what application you're in. So let's go over those. We'll click on the Apple icon while I zoom in here. Shutdown does exactly that. Shutdown turns the computer off completely. Restart will turn the computer off and then immediately back on again. But please remember, before you shut down or restart, you'll need to close all the applications and save the files that you currently have open. Sleep basically freezes your computer. It shuts down most of the system, but it will remember where you left off. If you use sleep mode, you do not need to close down your applications or your documents. So when you click on that sleep option, your screen will go black, and now it's sleeping. And if you're using a laptop, you don't even need to... Wait. Do y'all hear that? That's just weird. Okay, we're talking about sleeping. My Mac's asleep, and one of my dogs is snoring right now. That's awesome. Where was I? Oh yeah. When you're using a laptop, you don't need to select the sleep option. You can just close the laptop's lid and the Mac will go to sleep. Okay, it's getting a little dark in here. I'm going to bump into something if I'm not careful. So we'll open up the lid again and your computer will wake back up and you pick up where you left off. So let's say you have sensitive material on your computer or you don't want it accessible to anyone if you step away. That's where lock screen comes in. When your screen's locked, you just put in your user password, hit return, and you're back to where you left off. But the computer is inaccessible until you do that. So when you turn on your computer, this is the sign-in screen you'll see. Well, my picture isn't going to be there, but you know what I mean. You'll need to select your user account. This is the account that you created when you set up your computer earlier. I only have one account set up, which is typical. So I'm going to click on that account, type in my password, and after a moment, you'll be ready to go. In this movie, I want to go over the primary Mac interface controls that you'll be using no matter what you're doing. And they are always visible. Up at the top left of the screen, you'll see the menus. It starts with the Apple logo, and then you have File, Edit, View, etc. As you click on one of these, that particular menu will open up and give you the commands and options that you can use. to the right of the menus, you can see what's called the toolbar. These are buttons for volume, the clock, spotlight, search, Siri, etc. The toolbar menus are specific to system-related features, and again, the toolbar is always there. Now I'm going to open up an application, the Notes app. Notice how the menu names in the upper left have changed. That's because these menus will change depending on which application you're running. So if I move the Notes app out of the way and click on the desktop, you've switched back to the Finder, and now those menu items, the Finder's menu items, are showing. The name just to the right of the Apple logo will always show you the name of the application you're in, and it's in bold. Okay, Greg, you've gone this far into the movie and you haven't explained what the stoplight is for. What is the red, yellow, and green buttons? What are they for? Let me explain. Let's talk about the window buttons that are in application windows and Finder windows. Here's a little illustration that should help explain it. If you compare Mac to Windows, the first set of buttons are the minimize buttons, characterized by the dash on Windows and the yellow button, or the yield button, on macOS. The next set of buttons, characterized by the square in Windows and the go or green light on macOS, basically those are maximize, or in some cases the full screen button for macOS. And finally, the last set of buttons, characterized in Windows by the X and the red stop color on macOS, is either the close button or in some cases the quit button, again depending on the application. So let's go back to our screen for a demo. I'm going to open up Safari again, and I'm going to close the red button in the window. And in this case, of course, it just closes the window for Safari, but as I said, other applications it may close the actual app out. So I'll click on the application again down here in the dock to open up a new window. And then when I click on the yellow minimize button, it does this little swishy thing and minimizes down into the dock at the bottom. And I can go down to the dock where the window is and click on it, and it'll swishy open again, and there you go. And here's a replay. If I click on the green button, and let me just resize the window here to kind of show you this a little better. If I click on the green button, that of course will maximize the window to where all the menus and everything else is completely gone. So if you put your mouse at the top of the screen, you'll notice that the menu comes back. And that's how you can get back to the buttons. So I can go up like that and then come back down to the green button. And in this case, it brings it back to where it was. And then I'll quit out of Safari. So what's this big thing down at the bottom? Ladies and gentlemen, I bring you the dock. What is the dock? Basically, the dock is used to launch applications and to switch between running applications. It can also hold icons for frequently used programs or folders. So let me show you how it works. If you put your mouse over any of these icons at the bottom, these represent applications that are sitting in the dock, and you'll know which application it is if you put your mouse cursor over it. A little pop-up will show you the name of the icon. To open an application in the dock, you simply just click on the icon once, and that application will open. One way that you can tell a certain application is open is at the very bottom of the dock, right below the icon, you'll see a little black dot, and that's how you know that that application is open. So when I quit out of the application, of course, the application closes and the dock goes away. So now I'm going to just open up 2 or 3 of these applications, and sometimes you'll see a little animation on the icon when the application is actually opening. So again, to quit out of these applications, you just go to the application menu up at the top and go down the menu to quit. So I'll just quit out of these. All these applications that you see in the dock are the default applications that macOS gives you from the beginning, but let's say I wanted to rearrange them. I want to have them there, but I don't really like the order that they're in. I want to be unique and kind of customize this the way I want, and I'm going to move these things around. So to do that, all you have to do is click and hold the application icon, wait for about a second, and then you can basically move the icon along the dock to whichever position you want. But let's say I want to further customize the dock, and there are certain applications on the dock that I don't really think I'm going to be using very often, and I really just want to clean up my dock and only have the icons there for the applications that I really use. So how do I remove the icon? Basically what you do is you again click and hold on the icon, hold it down, and at some point you'll be able to move the icon. To remove the icon, you're going to move it up until it gets high enough to where you'll see this pop-up saying remove. Click off of that and it'll now be gone. Another way to do it is you can actually right click on the icon, a pop-up will come up, and if you select options, there's an option there to remove it from the dock. So you select that and the icon will go away. So you can customize the dock even further than this, and to do that we're going to go to the Apple menu and select System Preferences, and this third icon here where it says Dock, click on that. So now you have the settings for the dock. And here you can pull this slider left to right to make the dock bigger or smaller. You can also change the position of the dock. You can put it on the left-hand side, the right-hand side. I just like it on the bottom, so I'll just keep it on the bottom. Another thing you can do is actually change the magnification of it. So when you have that on, you basically can see that it sort of gets bigger where your mouse is to kind of give you a bigger indication of the icons, and you can view them easier. I don't really like to use that, so I'm going to turn that off. And another thing I'll show you is, let's say you don't want the dock visible sometimes, you really just want it available when you need it. Well, there's an option here called automatically hide and show the dock, and if you click on that, now the dock goes away and the dock only shows up when you put your mouse on the bottom of the screen. So it's kind of convenient if you really don't want that in the way. But I'll keep it there, so we'll just leave it there. And I'll quit out of System Preferences. I forgot to mention this earlier. You could quit out of a program by hitting this menu option to quit out of the application. But another way to do it is to go down into the dock, and if you click and hold, you'll get various options for it, and you can see quit here, so I can quit out of the app this way through the dock. Another thing you can do is you can actually resize the dock by putting your cursor right here. If you pull up and down on this little double arrow, it also will resize the dock for you. And as I mentioned earlier, this icon on the far right is your trash can. If you have something in the trash, you'll actually see the icon change and it looks like there's going to be stuff inside the trash can. Let's say you've needed to find out a piece of information on your computer really quickly. And again, I'm just talking about the computer or the operating system. A very fast way to do that is called About This Mac. For example, let's say you needed to know what version of your operating system you have, or how much RAM do you have, or how big your hard drive is, or how much video memory you have, or your serial number. All this is very easily accessible in About This Mac. So how you get to it, you probably have already seen it, is you go to the Apple menu again, and it's the first option here. It says About This Mac. A little window will pop up, and it has several tabs at the top. The very first one is the basic one. I'm going to zoom in on this a little bit so you can see it better. As you can see here, it gives you lots of basic information, kind of an overview. So it shows I have macOS Mojave version 10.14, 2 processors, you got your memory, your disk, stuff like that. And across the top, as I said, you have these little tabs and you can click on them. The second one is displays, which of course just shows the display you have. I have an external display. Click on storage and it shows basically how full your hard drive is. In gigabytes, it shows kind of a graph. You click on memory and it tells you how much RAM you have. If you click on support, you have a whole bunch of resources available to you. Starting at the top, you have macOS help, which all these are links, and your user manual for this computer, macOS support area. You got your specifications for this computer, hardware support, and finally, when you click on the Service tab, you can look at what your AppleCare status is. AppleCare is basically the service program that Apple offers for its warranty and stuff. So on here, you can check the service and coverage options and anything that has to do with servicing your Mac under the AppleCare warranty. So I'm going to close out of that, zoom back out, and there you have it. So what is iCloud? To me, iCloud is the 500-pound gorilla that manages all of your Apple devices. Or is it 800-pound gorilla? I can't keep my gorillas straight. Anyway, seriously, from Apple's website, iCloud securely stores your photos, videos, documents, music, apps, and more, and keeps them updated across all your devices. It easily lets you share photos, calendars, locations, and more with friends and family. You can even use iCloud to help you find your device if you lose it. How iCloud works. After you set up iCloud on your iOS device or Mac, you sign in to iCloud on your other devices and computers using the same Apple ID. You only have to do this once. After that, changes you make on one device appear on all your other devices. For example, if you create a new album in Photos on your Mac, the album automatically appears in the Photos app on iCloud.com, on Mac and Windows browsers, your iOS devices, your Apple Watch, and your Apple TV. iCloud.com also includes web versions of important iOS and Mac apps, such as Mail, Calendar, and Reminders that you can use from any supported web browser. iCloud comes with 5 gigabytes of free iCloud storage. You can upgrade to more storage for a small monthly charge. So we'll go to the Apple menu, System Preferences, that opens up, and click on iCloud. I'll zoom in on this window a little bit. So this is the screen you're presented with, and you can see your Apple ID will already show up. This should be the screen you get if you have not logged into iCloud. So I'm going to enter my password, and hit next. This new pop-up will come up where you need to add your Mac password. This is not your Apple ID password. This is your Mac password. This is the password you would use to log into your Mac. So then you get to this main window, and you can see you have two options here. This top one, of course, is the first one, dealing with documents and data, calendars, reminders, notes, everything that we just said earlier. The second one is a service called Find My Mac, and it will allow you to locate this Mac on a map and remotely lock it or erase it. Sounds kind of like Mission Impossible kind of stuff. Dun, 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 dun. Alright, I'll click allow and move forward. After that, you can see now all this stuff is set up. There are some things on here that I do not actually want to check. It was an all or nothing checkbox earlier, but now I want to actually take some things off. So starting with iCloud Drive, I mentioned earlier I did not want to use that. When you click on this, you'll get this message saying everything in iCloud Drive will be removed. This is okay, don't worry about this because I don't actually have any documents in iCloud Drive. So that will turn off. And next item, let's go under Photos. I'm going to click on that. I'm not really going to go into all of these options, but these are other things that you can turn on. I do want to turn on my photo stream because I definitely use that on my iPhone. Turning on iCloud Photos is kind of more involved, so I'm not going to do that here. And I'll hit done here, and that's it for photos. I'm actually going to turn off mail because I use a different email client and I don't want that synchronized. I do it another way. And let's see, Safari, I really do not use Safari, so I'm going to uncheck that. And I'm going to uncheck Apple News. And again, it's going to say, hey, you're going to delete some stuff there, which is fine. These messages are fine. I don't have any of those things on anyway. So that's fine. You can leave those on if you wish, but I'm going to have those off. And that's pretty much it for this first part. You can now see that gives you the amount of space you have on your iCloud storage plan. I have 20 gigabytes, but you start out with 5. So you can click on Manage, and let's look at this. We will open that up, and what this gives you is a breakout of all of the different services that you have listed for iCloud that are being synchronized, and how much space each of them is taking. So you can kind of go through here and see what you have. For example, let's click on iCloud Photos. So for example, on iCloud Photos, you can see number of photos. It gives you number of photos and videos stored. And while we're in here, let's go into here under Change Storage Plan. And this is what I'm paying right now currently as of this video. And you can see it's really inexpensive for iCloud storage. It's really a no-brainer for you to go to the next tier of storage because it's really inexpensive, and I guarantee you you're going to run out of the initial storage amount that they give you for free. So we'll get out of that. And let's see, I'm just kind of moving around here. Let's go into details. This shows details about you, the iCloud user. If you click on contact, this shows you the various contact information. It has your email addresses and your birthday. Again, an opportunity to choose subscriptions to email newsletters if you wish. Under security, an opportunity to change your password. Two-factor authentication is a very good security measure that I would recommend. And it also shows your phone numbers. Next tab is devices, and this will show you all of your devices that you have currently listed with iCloud. And again, you can click on one of these to view the details of it. I'm going to click on my MacBook Pro 13-inch, and it gives you basic information, the name, the OS version, serial number. It gives you the opportunity to remove it. We'll click done there. And we'll quit out of system preferences, and that's pretty much it for iCloud. System preferences is where in macOS you can get some basic preferences for how things work on your Mac. It's similar to the Settings app in Windows 10. To get to it, you can either select System Preferences from the System menu, or you can just go down to the dock, as I have here, and open it up that way. When you open it, you'll have this window. When that opens, you'll see a screen similar to this. These are the different categories. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit so you can see all this a little closer. In the interest of time, I'm not going to go through every one of these. I'm just going to select a few of these that I think are important that you need to look at when you're first getting your computer set up for the first time. I do, however, recommend that you revisit this and click on each of these just to see what kind of settings and offerings and options they have. So click on this first one, which is General. And under here, going top to bottom, you can see again we have the option to change the appearance from the light mode or the dark mode. The next option is the accent color, which controls the colors that appear in little button elements or checkboxes or pull down menus, stuff like that. You can have different colors there. The highlight color is the color that displays when you select on a file in the Finder. Here's an option to select the preferred web browser. It shows Safari here, but if you have other browsers installed, you can select the one that you want. And that's about it for General. One way to get back to the main window of categories is to select this little button up here that says Show All. I know. You've been waiting this entire class, wanting to know, Greg, when can I put a photo of my grandkids, birthday, true love, beach vacation, lake house, cat, dog's friend, favorite food, favorite pop musician, graduation, car, significant other, or other awesome texture pattern on my desktop? The wait is over. I got you covered. You click on this next one, which is Desktop and Screensaver. And here you have two tabs, Desktop and Screensaver. And so you can see here in the top area, you have what's called a dynamic desktop, which is a really cool thing from this version of macOS, where if you use this desktop, the scene of this mountain will actually change and go dark as it gets later on in the day. If you don't want to use that, you have an awesome variety of desktop pictures that you can use. And I'll scroll through some of these, and all you have to do is just click on one of these and boom, there you go. You have a bunch of really cool ones in here. Some of these are really gnarly. So anyway, you scroll through here and then you will see the ones you want to use. So that's how you do that. So we click on the other tab, we have the option to use a screensaver, and there are a variety of different ones in there, and you can change different settings or whether you want to have that on. I won't go into that, so we will go ahead and get out of that and go on to the next one. Alright, so we're going to click on our LED light bulb here and go to the energy saver preferences. Now, one thing I'll mention is this computer is attached to a display, an external display monitor. If you are just on a laptop, I think you will have two tabs up here, one that says battery and one that says power adapter, and that would be if you're just using your laptop as is. I don't have that, so that's why those are not showing. But basically in here, you can see what you do is you just adjust the amount of time before the computer sleeps. In my case, it's when the display and the computer sleep. So that's where you basically make those adjustments. And the next one we'll choose is your mouse. And this basically shows where you can adjust the tracking speed of the cursor and how fast you scroll, how fast you double click. And printers and scanners, if you have one of those. Right now I don't have any added, but basically this is where they're going to show up, and you can set up things. Down here in the corner where the X is where you add them. And let's go to sound. These are all the alert sounds that you can choose that are built in. So that's a couple of those. This also, you check this box and this will, so you can see how you can hear the volume increase, so that's how you change the volume of the computer itself. You can show the volume level in the menu bar. And that's pretty much it for the sound. Internet accounts is basically where all of your accounts relating to email, contacts, calendar, messages are all going to be gathered together in one convenient location. I won't go into that right now, but that's where they are. And next we'll go into network. As I said, I just have a simple wired connection right now, but other network connections like wireless, Bluetooth, or Firewire, whatever you have, are all going to show up in here. Let's go down to the bottom under users and groups. This again shows the account information, and there's the account user, that's me. And these are where you're going to have certain options that you can set for your user as an admin. Notice how this area here is grayed out. You can't select anything. There's times where you will have to do things that involve you entering your admin password. So to do that, you'll have to go over to this lock icon in the corner, and you'll have to click on that. And that opens up a window where you'll have to put in your username and your password to unlock it. And once it unlocks, you hear the lock icon go open, and now you notice you have access to those areas. So just wanted to show you that's kind of where that is. And there are occasions where you have to unlock an area to get to it, which means putting in your username and password. The next area is date and time. Pretty straightforward. This just kind of shows your clock, the time zone, make sure that's all set correctly. Daylight savings time, all that good stuff. That's where that all is. And that's pretty much it for this brief discussion on system preferences. So I'm going to quit out of that, and we're good to go there. So that's all I got for you. I know an hour is hardly a quick introduction, but there was a lot to cover, and I wanted to make sure you had as much information as you need to be up and running. I hope this has helped you or could help someone you know who's about to get a Mac. Thanks so much for hanging out. Take care and keep learning.